Today being May 3rd, 2017, the Charlton Planning Board will come to order. To start out, we've got some bills to go through. We've got a bill here from CMRCP for $500. It's for the trolley crossing project. And we have another one for $776.50 along with the trolley crossing project. We have one for $96.53. It's a reimbursement to Allen. Do I have a motion to accept the three bills as read?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sign those and then go into the Let's start with the January 4th. Somebody wants to take a few minutes and read it, and then is there any questions? Any questions for the January 4th minutes?
No, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes of January 4th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
If we can take a quick moment and go through January 18th.
Hey, you weren't here on that one. I don't think we just,
Maybe we could do that one.
Yeah, we
now,
gotta skip that one,
because
right?
we should take it.
Okay,
February 1st.
sure. Any questions for the February 1st minutes?
No, I make a motion, we accept them as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have March 1st. Any questions on the March 1st minutes?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes of March 1st.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have the March 15th. We can't do it at, we'll have to do that at a later time.
Yep.
Okay. So about the date of December 9th,
So,
December 7th? We didn't do that one, did we? December 7th? We didn't make a
No.
motion on that one? Okay.
No, we didn't.
And is that the one, I think I'm,
No, you were here for that.
yep.
I, for some reason, yep, December 7th, okay. Take them in to, do December 7th?
Make a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And November 16th, we can't do it.
Right.
Hey.
Hey there, how are you? Hi, how are you? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. My wife Rochelle?
How are you?
I'm Richard Kelly, in case anybody don't know.
Okay. Alan should be here shortly, so, going through the minutes, and we're gonna have a public hearing for 7:15. I don't have anything on it. Alan has the stuff for growth management,
Yep.
and, I guess what we'll do is we're just gonna wait till 7:15 when the,
Yes.
first public hearing is. Till then. Set?
Good to go.
Set. We also have, some payroll to do. We have a payroll for, Alan and Jane from 5/8 to 5/13, from 5/15 to 5/20, from 5/22 to 5/27, 5/29 to 6/3, from 6/5 to 6/10. Do I have a motion to accept the payroll as read?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Being 7:15, you all set there, Alan?
Yes.
Okay. Notice of a public hearing for the Charlton Planning Board. Let's see, make sure I'm reading the right one here.
Yeah, that both is on.
Okay. In accordance with section 200-5.13 and 200-7 of the Charlton zoning bylaws, the Charlton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017 at 7:15 p.m. in the Planning Board office of the George C. McKinstry Building, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass. On the applicant of Peter Hughes, Jr., 92 Stevens Park Road, Charlton, Mass. 01507, for approval of one proposed reduced frontage lot totaling 6.22 acres to construct a single-family home on said lot located westerly off of Dresser Hill Road, Charlton, Mass. Assessor map 52, Block A, Lot 2. Copy of the reduced frontage special permit applications are available for inspection at the planning board office and the town clerk's office during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated. Alan, if you'd walk us through it?
Sure. It's a typical reduced frontage special permit. As you know, you changed the zoning bylaw a few years ago to allow if someone requests to reduce the frontage below the 175 in exchange for at least a 5-acre lot. Jason DuBois designed it for the applicant at DC Engineering. And where you see the orange line, that's where the driveway will come in. And the narrow part of the lot runs from about 125 feet of frontage at the road, so you're reducing it by about 50 up that driveway for about 300 feet, then it flares out. You can see the house in yellow up in the corner of the proposed location. Everything meets the 5 requirements of the zoning bylaw for reduced frontage design. Kurt Meskis confirmed, the building commissioner, that As long as the driveway's coming in from that location, there's no problem. The other end, the neck would be too long. We limit 600 feet, but they're not coming in with the driveway from that end anyway, so it's pretty routine.
Any questions on
The only other point is also on your agenda is an A&R that after you approve it, you'll sign it, and that will also create 4 conventional lots, lots 11, 12, 13, and 14. But those are conventional.
these two are already in existence, right?
The one your pen is on is, yes, but the one to the left isn't.
Kurt's gone through this and
Yes, the only thing he pointed out is just that as long as the neck is
Yeah.
where you're coming in from, we're at the 300 feet, which is no problem.
is this the only plan that we have for tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So they don't have the Mylar done?
Oh, I do have the
Okay.
Mylar, but that's on the agenda after this.
Okay. Can we take a vote on this to?
Yes, you can vote to close the hearing and then vote to approve.
It's pretty
Do you have a
straightforward.
motion to close the public hearing?
So
Oh,
moved.
wait a minute, excuse me. Any,
Yeah.
any comments from the public?
My
Just
apologies.
questions.
Sure.
Originally, I believe the driveway was supposed to go all the way down and down by the top, the high tension lines.
No, it wasn't.
That's what I thought.
No. No, it isn't.
Okay, so you're gonna make the driveway aside of my property.
Right.
Going right down. And what about the 2 lots that are right aside of it now? Those are small frontage. I don't think you have 180.
Those
there.
other lots that are proposed to be created meet the zoning requirement, yes. Excuse me, if I can just read it. Proposed lot 14, 13, 12, and 11 will all meet the 175.
What about that lot that's the side of the driveway?
That's someone else's ownership, and that is 78, that's 150, but it's pre-existing prior to the zoning bylaw coming in to make it 175. So that's pre-existing with a different owner, but everything new that's being created will meet today's zoning bylaw. 175, 175, same there, and then this will be the reduced frontage at 124 in exchange for preserving the 6 acres.
So that one on the side of the driveway is legally, they could build on that?
Which one, could you come up and point?
Yeah,
to it?
sure. This one here.
Yes, that one that's being created is 175, which meets the
So I'll have a
zoning bylaw.
buffer zone anyways at the driveway. How wide is
Yes,
the
you
driveway
will.
gonna be?
The driveway, I can't tell you. Our zoning bylaw doesn't control zoning for driveways. A routine house driveway. That's the best way I could describe
Typically
it.
12 feet wide.
12 feet.
Typical. That's a
typically.
typical driveway for a
Okay,
residential house.
so I'll have a buffer of 12 feet between me and the lot then.
Well, you have a buffer of 125 feet with a 12-foot wide driveway within the 125.
Oh, okay, I got you,
Yeah.
yeah, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
And who's my neighbor? Did he show up?
This
Oh,
is
you-
just a
I think-
proposed.
Correct.
I
A&R
see,
plan.
okay, I thought he'd be here tonight. I was gonna introduce myself. Okay, so my house will be roughly here, I think.
Probably.
1 acre? Yeah, that'd be about right here. He's got what, what about all this other?
Again, sir, that's it. This is all in exchange for the 6.25 being preserved, it's just one house in perpetuity, that's it.
Yeah, so this here will be
Will not be
eliminated?
used, will not be used.
Okay, and where will his property end over here?
Everything he will own is in purple.
It's all,
Including this?
Yes.
it's all
yes.
continuous.
That's strange.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
It's a
strange.
special permit layout.
It's not called a hammerhead, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay, because it has the acreage?
No, it's not. You're right. 6.5 acres.
Okay, but he has to keep this.
Right, yeah. I'm
Now,
repeating
what will
myself.
happen?
Nothing will happen, sir.
Nothing will happen
Nothing.
with it.
It's permanently preserved with one house, that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good by me.
It actually gets recorded as a special permit at the registry of deeds.
This does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep,
And they can no longer subdivide or
I
anything like
well,
that.
that's great. Well, I just wanted this buffer anyway,
Right.
so I don't mind it up there, because he's gonna be behind me. Now, how close will his house be?
I can't tell you, sir. I can't tell you. We're not reviewing the house, we're just reviewing the property layout.
Well,
I see, okay.
Typical zoning setbacks for the agriculture, I think
I
it's
couldn't tell you.
15 side and 30
We don't
rear
even know if it'll be
setback.
100 or 50. It's not what's before the board tonight.
All right, and what about the Flint Road now?
I know nothing.
You don't know
Nothing
anything
to do with
about
us.
There's
that?
nothing that we
No.
But this is all legal.
This is it, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you. That's what I wanted to know. I think we thought that the driveway was gonna come this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, that makes more sense.
So Chairman, I recommend we close the
Now,
hearing.
now,
Rich,
the problem I had, my driveway used to come straight down to the highway.
okay.
The highway guy said, you have to make it curved because the water's gonna be rushing down onto his highway.
We know
This-
nothing about that,
at
you'd have to
this-
talk to Highway.
At this moment, we're just discussing the A&R plan.
Yeah,
We're not trying to get into something that you've got with your property.
well, then you get 12 feet. Now I had to make a new driveway and pay for a new driveway. in
Sir,
a
that's outside of the
semicircle.
public hearing, we
Okay.
only do the property line layout, the purple, that's it. It's the only subject legally on the public hearing this evening.
So you're not gonna allow for this guy to be
We can't.
turned down
It's
by the
outside of
highway?
us, it's
That's
between
outside.
him and Highway. You're
Okay.
asking a subject that's outside of the planning board's review.
All this gentleman's asking tonight is to get an A&R plan approved, showing his property lines and configurations with the rest of the property.
Okay, what happens if he gets turned down on the driveway?
But that's not,
No,
that's
no,
not
our
our
issue,
issue,
sir.
not our
He's-
issue tonight.
He still has a legal building lot
He
based
does.
upon this public hearing, if it gets approved.
So Chairman, I'd recommend we need to move on with other agenda items.
Any other questions at this
Nope.
time?
That's it.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Do we have the other?
And that's later in the agenda.
Alright.
All you have this evening, right now, is this. I'd recommend the board vote to approve it, subject to the standard one condition, that it's a 2-year approval. They have within 24 months to initiate a building permit, or else they can ask for an annual extension of the special permit.
Do I have a motion to accept the A&R as Alan read with the conditions?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Good.
Right.
Thank you, Peter. Nice.
Yeah, have a good night.
I'll just grab the plan. You all know Mike Mallett. Thank you for coming in. Mike has done an amazing job of getting the Quonican subdivision back on track. And what he wanted to come in, and it was his suggestion, and I think it's a great idea, is, you know the difficulty with the back 2 phases that we've talked about for years, and he would like to eventually have somebody come in, whether it's him or a future buyer, but at least he would set the tone at this stage for how they would redesign, and he's got a very interesting concept that I'll just leave for him to put forward when we talk about it.
Okay, great.
If you want to flip to the other page, if you need be, feel free, but I think
Sure.
this is the page you want to start
Yeah,
with.
so this is, let me get it. Okay. So right now, the one end of Highcrest that we're not, that the bank does not own or have any control over is this end of Highcrest. But right now, it actually does cul-de-sac. There's actually there's a dirt cul-de-sac at this end. What I'm looking to do is to see whether or not, to get the feedback from the group, is to see whether or not we could actually get per town permits, and obviously, and within the bylaws, to get some lots off this cul-de-sac. My thought process in speaking to our engineer is that we could potentially get 3 lots off here. One of them would be directly off, and 2 of them would have a common driveway coming off. To have 3 off this side, so we would not extend this road out. What we would do for safety and for fire trucks and things of that nature is to gravel this going through, so there would be access, but it wouldn't be a road. It would just be a gravel way with an easement going to the town, so that they have access if they ever needed to go to get there. They would have that for security purposes. The other part is when you get to this end, there's a cul-de-sac at this point. Currently, right now, we have approval to from the town. We gave the bond, so this has already been released. What I'm trying to do is, and I worked with the engineer and with Alan to look at doing this off this side, because we have more land. It's potentially get 5 lots on this side. Again, same concept, where it would just off the cul-de-sac. We'd have reduced frontage lots because of lot size. Be able to sit there, come off, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just looking to try to salvage this project. Henry Vista Lane would be, would not happen on that end. And again, the easement would be from this point to this point, it'd be gravelled through. And that's my thought process, just to try to put an end to the Ponican subdivision project once and forever. And I just wanted to bring it up to you guys to see what your thought process was. And if you had any, you know, if I were to sell this off to a developer, would you guys entertain or, you know, entertain that?
The sketch I just passed around is a real raw sketch he did that just gives the general concept, you know.
Yeah.
Just a few thoughts on process-wise. It would be what you just saw a few minutes ago. It would just be multi-lot reduced frontage special permit. So you'd have at least 5 acres permanently preserved for each. It all meets normal requirements of design and layout under our regulations, and I really like your idea, and like you said, you've done it before, of an emergency access for the rest of the subdivision as a gravel drive with an easement to get through, so that helps the fire department quite a bit.
Yeah, the gravel way would be obviously gravel base, work with the fire department for what they require for the weight of the fire trucks to go through, and then most likely they would just go through and put loom and seed it so you wouldn't see it, but it would support the base. It'd support it. I've done that in Southbridge on another project to be able to get in for utility vehicles.
I'm not familiar with this. I haven't been down there in a while. What are the lots graded like? Are they steep? Are they flat? How?
From this point to this point, it does grade down.
Okay.
And then on this side, it's the next plate, and which comes down drastically, but we wouldn't be touching any of that.
Okay, so on the lots that you're proposing, what exactly?
This?
Exactly. What kind of grade are we talking about? Are they
This,
flat? Are they?
this actually dips down and comes back up.
Okay.
My only question to Alan would be with the gravel drive, would we be setting a bad precedent as far as that? Because we do have another subdivision, Ellie Pond,
Right.
that is similar where it.
Sure.
I just want to make sure
We
we're not
wouldn't,
gonna-
because what he's doing is he's using the word drive, but it's just a private driveway. What it is he could do it without giving us anything. He could just end in the design the section of the road that goes up the hill and ends right now with the temporary turnaround. But I had brought up the fact that, you know, the fire department would be concerned. It would still meet our bylaws, but the fire department would be concerned that they don't have a way in that way, where leaving it the way it is, even though it's infeasible to construct with that steepness, that back phase,
Right.
would give you a second way in. So he suggested, what about if I just add a gravel driveway? So we're not setting a precedent in terms of waiving our subdivision rights.
Okay.
Nothing's being waived. He's just
Alright.
giving us a gravel driveway for convenience sake.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the rest
Good
of
question,
these,
though. You
No,
don't
yeah,
want
I just
to
want to
cause a
make sure we cover our end on that.
Exactly.
the rest of these house lots would just go back to.
Well, these are already
Those
built and
that's
sold.
existing.
Yeah, these,
So
yeah,
we're
these,
just
these
looking at
existing.
this little section then.
I'm sorry?
This is the little section that you're talking about making into gravel, right?
No,
It
what
would-
we would do is basically from
I'm
this
lost.
point to this point, whether it follows the plan or not, it would just go directly here.
See, from
And it'd be
there
a-
to about there, you do an easement just for the fire department to be able to get in this way on a gravel driveway if they had to, if they were blocked back at this end.
Okay.
That's all it is. And whoever buys these lots from him, it'll be in their deed that there's an easement for the emergency graveled back way.
They can't put a pool, no house, no nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I'm following it.
With
It's hard to
inventory.
see until you.
Exactly.
It's just, I was up there one day last week just trying to visualize the Mass Pike and this side of it for house lots, okay.
Yeah, there's really not gonna be, I mean, these wouldn't exist, I mean, for the most part, because the way that it's coming in, we'd only have one on this side, one on this side. These two most likely would be abandoned. All this would be abandoned, and the other part is that we'd be giving more open space to the town as part of this.
I mean, how many acres roughly is left? 'Cause if you
35.
can- Okay, all right.
Boy, you do that one, huh?
I've lived and breathed this project for 6 years.
Gotcha.
This is the subdivision
Yeah.
that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And will these final pieces finally put it to rest?
We'll be 100% will be done.
Nice.
And just full disclosure, I do have a buyer already.
Nice.
Well, I bet you do.
Congratulations.
Inventory is so low right now that I bet these house lots will jump off the market.
Yep.
So Alan, what are we gonna be asking for the board to do tonight?
Nothing official. He's just looking for your feedback that you're comfortable with heading in that direction, and then at his convenience. Obviously, like Michael said, what he'd like to do is find somebody who's interested in finishing the project, and either the bank would come in, or his agreement with them is that he's selling it to them or optioning it contingent that they come in. And you do two things side by side. You'd be applying for the special permit that would approve that, and you're also applying to modify the definitive plan to drop the phases it covered. So you're taking that layer out that's already there, phases 4 and 5, and replacing it with the multi-lot special permit.
Do you anticipate any negative feedback from the abutters?
I expect positive feedback.
I would think so too. I just wasn't sure if you'd, not that you have to disclose it, but if you'd heard anything.
But now there would be
Less
getting
houses.
Exactly.
less houses, the other lots would be finished, the road would be graded,
I think it's a great idea.
not like we've had the last couple of years where the roads all caved in and the guys.
You go there now, it's a lot different, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. That was not a cheap road, by the way.
I bet
Just,
not.
just don't drive up there someday right after they plowed it, like I did. I drove
I
up,
see.
no, I drove up, and I saw the manhole missing,
Oh, no.
coming down the hill. So I was looking at it in the distance, and I got in my truck with 3 tires. If it was a car, I think it would have fell in. I made it out of there.
I mean, obviously, you know, the number that I was throwing out from an engineer to finish this was, you know, in the $30,000 range to redo the subdivision. So it's just before, you know, either we or someone else goes through to do this. I just want to make sure that I'm not wasting $35,000. I mean, it's not 100% guaranteed that you guys approve it, but
Correct.
I'm looking for
guidance.
guidance. Yeah.
Any other questions for us, Alan? on this?
No, I think we're good. Just, you know, if you could just keep in touch with myself and Mike Andrade through
Yep.
the process of when someone starts working with you on it.
Yeah.
We'd sit down with you and go
Yeah,
over
when
the
you
concept.
stood up to walk away, I did mention, I said, I do have an individual that is interested in purchasing everything from me. He's a local developer that I know. And so we just to be involved on the banking side, but
When the engineer involved preliminarily designs something, we can have a sit down during the day with our engineer and go over it.
Yeah.
thank you.
That's it.
Can you grab the check and?
I gave
Oh,
it to
good,
you.
good, thank you.
Alright.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for
Thanks,
coming.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate the bank trying to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should have been here 10 minutes ago.
Alright.
Is it all set?
We got,
Yeah, but we didn't do the A and R yet. If you want to
Okay.
wait a couple minutes, we'll give you that.
You missed the excitement.
Alright,
Yeah.
7:25, we did the Ponican Hill. So it is 7:35?
Yes.
You wanna go that?
I think I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman. Just spend a few minutes on this item. Late this afternoon, Amber Howard called me, the project manager from Sunset City, and they had to reschedule time-wise to late afternoon, the latest meeting in the field with our engineer. And so she asked for continuance to bring it up again in 2 weeks. What I wanted to do, and it'll just take 2 minutes, I'm not going to get into anything we would have with them, but I just wanted to do 2 things. One, lay out I wanted to just show you, so we can all visualize the project. I just marked up in different colors the physical items they're working on in the field and that have to be done. And then Mike Andrade and I put together a list of the items that have to be done prior to the planning board letting the building commissioner know they're done. And I'd just like to email it to Amber tomorrow. It's just a friendly little list that everybody sees, so there won't be something someone forgets. So if we can just still take 2 minutes and then move on to other items. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was. Good. Yeah.
Alicia, if you want to grab that.
Absolutely.
Just put it across. And we can move it a little to the left, your right, my left, and pull it farther down your way, as far over to your edge of the table. And you can go a little off the table, keep going, and perfect. All it is this is the project so we can visualize it.
Wow.
Yep. I took 3 or 4 sheets at your end. 2 planning board members are at the entrance. You come up the driveway. The driveway is actually 1 sheet longer, so there's nothing in the middle to go over. I didn't put that sheet. If I put that sheet, we'd be back here.
Okay.
Then you get up here, and here's the motocross and such. So I'll just hand out this list. No needs to go through it item by item or anything, but, and I'll email it to Amber tomorrow. These are the items that are from the approved site plan, highlighted in color here. I'll just mention a few major ones. Everything in orange on this end is fencing. So under what they submitted to you and you approved, there's a 4-foot-high black chain link fence around the motocross, and there's also the same type of fence around each of the 8 detention basins. Everything in green is landscaping. There's 95 trees and 5 different species that are have to be put in around it. Everything in yellow on this end are 14 handicap spaces, in addition to the regular parking spaces. They had initially proposed grassed parking spaces for the people attending, and they requested to switch over to gravel, which Mike Andrade agrees with. Gravel would be easy to maintain, work just as well for everybody. So that, you'll notice that it says grass, but in the final version, when you sign off, it'll be gravel. A few other little things here and there. In a couple locations, more toward where Alicia is sitting, in the orange, you see a couple of things. There's a stop sign up front. There's another stop sign up here that has to be installed. Yep. There's a street light at the end. There are 3 retaining walls from about 100 to 140 feet in length, and there are a couple of other boulder retention walls in a few locations where they're proposing to use boulders to put retaining against slopes, that type of thing. Other than that, if you go down the list, there's a few other little things. The fire department had requested, and you incorporated in the site plan, either a cistern or a dry hydrant near a pond. So they'll just have to touch base with the fire chief on the specifics and implement it prior to the sign-off. That's another item. Just anything else? 2 intersection ahead signs are required to be installed on Brookfield Road. The gravel driveway all the way through is 24 feet wide. There's 2-foot grass swales on each side. Also in the site plan approval, out at the intersection of Route 49 and Putnam Road, putting some pavement markings that DOT had requested out of their District 3 office, and a business identification sign at the site entranceway identifying the actual 501 International, Sunset City, whatever their final lettering and wording is. So these are the types of items that have to be done. Also, the drainage. Jason, as you know, the engineer, is working on a revision based on conservation, requiring them to move a few things. At the last meeting, the revision was submitted. Michael reviewed it, our engineer, and recommended 6 changes or additional information that he hasn't had the time to get to yet. So that was why they said, why even come in tonight? There's really nothing to discuss till we get a little farther. So I know they're working as fast as they can, and it's a big project, but these items, like any other project, the same elements are in every site plan, but just specific to the project. And by the time they're looking to have the planning board vote to tell the building commissioner we're done, these are the items that physically have to be completed in the field. And that's about it. But I think it helps. We talk about the project, and you've seen this type of thing 2 years ago during the site plan review, but just to mark it up and have it in front of everybody from now on when we go through this final phase of field construction and sign off, I think it just helps visualize it. So.
Yeah, this is fabulous, thank you. It shows just how
Yeah.
big the project is.
Good visual.
Yeah, and actually, like I said,
Yeah.
one sheet I didn't put in, right in the middle of the driveway heading deep off of Brookfield Road, because there's nothing needed to show you as part of it, but it would have rolled out even farther. Wow. Yeah, it's big property.
Yeah,
It also shows distance though.
exactly.
Which is
It definitely
good.
does.
Yeah, I think that helps quite a bit to get a true feel of,
Yeah.
you know, it's not
How
like,
far back.
Thank you for doing that.
Exactly,
You're
yeah,
very
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
and that's it for that. I just recommend that we put them on the next agenda for either they're done or we're just going over that they're completed the following and they just have X, Y, and Z to do.
Yep.
I think we should just plan to have this project almost at every
Yeah.
meeting until it gets going.
Yeah.
But I'd like to put them on the agenda for next month.
Yep.
I mean, next
May
meeting.
17th. Yep. Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's great that you highlighted these particular items and
Thank you. I want to thank Mike Andrade too for checking it with me.
Absolutely.
If there's some minor thing we missed, well, we don't think we did,
Yeah.
and so that way we know that's all we have to do, that's all they have to do, and we're
Exactly.
focused. Thank you.
And everybody can see it clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I'll email it to her tomorrow morning and we'll be in good shape.
Perfect.
Cal, being 7:40, we got some administrative stuff you'd like to go over with us?
Yes. We've got 3 items. The first is Roy Gunter just sent his letter to the annual extension for Gunter Estates, extend the approval to June 19th, 2018. And we spoke on the phone last week, and he's still moving forward, and it's going well with the engineers of putting together the solar project and at the same time redesigning the area of the project that would have been about 15 or 20 subdivision lots. So he's just pushing the engineers. As soon as he can get them through their workload of preparing it, it'll come in here. So that's still going well.
We have a letter from April 12th, 2017 from the Gunther Estate. It says, this email letter will confirm our telephone conversation on April 12th, 2017. Please have the planning board extend Gunther LLC subdivision so that we can move forward on construction of Boucher Road and enter into phase 1 and/or phase 2. So the extension date he's asking for is for June 19th, 2018. Do I have a motion to accept that?
Motion to accept
Second.
that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'll just grab the sheet over here.
Oh, yeah, underneath 20, it's kind of filled in with what they have.
What this is just a slight field modification request. If you remember last year, for Mr. Peters on Stafford Street, you did a site plan after we revised the zoning bylaw to allow a garage larger than the house for his truck.
I'll close it.
Yeah.
It's about, if you were going in there.
And he ran into some issues of being able to provide water for sprinklers, so he just is shrinking the footprint, so he's below the requirement for the sprinkling. And it's going down to 62 by 80, where before it was about 80 by 100. So now that's the only difference. We didn't need to do an engineering review because you're shrinking the footprint. I mean, it's not impacting more, it's impacting less. So that makes it just a field adjustment by the planning board tonight. So you vote to approve it and to file as a field adjustment and just inform the building commissioner. And Kurt went over it too. So.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Do I have a motion for a field adjustment on this plot?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the third one we put in your packet is finalizing the revisions that from the night of the approval on the Pucci special permit for the gymnastics facility on Route 20. You have an April 21st letter from Mike Andrade, and basically he's saying that everything that was required in the revision from the night you voted has been complied with just one point, that I'd recommend you just can include in the motion. We don't have to actually physically change the plan. And if I can get to that one item, number 33 on page 4. I can pull the plan if you'd like, but just quickly, if you'll recall, they'll build the parking lot in two phases. Phase 1 goes with the building that you approved, and they just showed a conceptual layout for a Phase 2 parking lot that would go with a building expansion they'd reapply for eventually. But they'd like to rough out the Phase 2 parking lot when they do Phase 1. And Michael said because of that, they just want to put a little bit of curbing at a particular location to direct runoff from the Phase 2 rough out toward the catch basin in Phase 1. So you don't have to show that on the plan. We can just, the board can just accept these modifications subject to Michael's comment on 33 in the field during the construction. That's about it. And Mr. Pucci told me that he'll move forward. He's starting to go through bank financing at the moment, and once he's through with that, he'll head into field permits.
Perfect.
Do we still have this public hearing open, right?
No, you closed it. This is just a condition of the approval, that after you closed it and approved it, that within 30 days he'd submit this, which he did. And then at the next planning board meeting, you just accept Michael's recommendation on this.
So we'll make a motion to accept Michael's recommendations with the 33 conditions standing up.
Yes, exactly.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll write it up tomorrow and just send it to the building commissioner.
Grab that plan right here.
I haven't been here as an alternate. I don't think I can today.
Can you open that now? You stop yelling at them?
Sure. I'll do it. I mean, I can sign it, I just
I don't
don't know if it'll mean anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alan, do I sign the Mylar as an alternate?
No, you can't sign the
I
Mylar as an
don't
alternate. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
This is the A&R that goes with the reduced frontage special permit. Jason can answer any other questions, but it's exactly what we went over. Lot 15 is now signable because you approved the special permit for reduced frontage, and lots 14, 13, 12, 11 are conventional, all on Dresser Hill, all meet the requirements for setback, frontage, and minimum lot size, or more than minimum lot size.
What a funky lot. I mean,
Like, walk his dog.
It's all the
Yeah.
leftovers.
we had a lot when we first started selling off that did
I just
exactly
showed
that.
him, and it's, he said, I
Yeah.
When we
just
ever saw the plan, I mean, it's a
We
neat
must
little
have
lot
said
now because they
8
put
times,
trees and
though.
shrubbery in it. They actually made it
Still
look
a
nice, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's funky.
We did the perks update today on all those lots,
Mhm.
and that rear lot is like beautiful on top. of it.
Nice.
I didn't, you never really know, like driving down 31, but
Yeah.
go up to the top there, and it's really nice. It's like right at the crest. It's all like green field.
It's awesome.
Cool.
That's where the house is gonna be?
Yeah, it's a really nice lot up there.
Any questions of Jason at this time?
Mhm.
Anything you'd like to point out to the board, or? Do you have a motion to accept the A&R plan as shown to us tonight?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Did you not know you had to go next door?
No.
Sweet.
Surprise.
this was 7:30. I'm just running from A to B to C.
Can you just put today's date?
At least it was all on the same night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you knew I was in there. You just guessed, and I happened to be.
I thought I was watching live TV and there you were.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Alan, is there anything else that needs to be voted on?
No, thank you so much.
Oh,
Everything
you're
else
welcome.
is just, ongoing project stuff.
Now that soccer season only has 2 more weeks left to it, I should be able to start being here on Wednesday nights.
Great, fantastic. Well, you'll see Jason again in 2 weeks. He's submitting a subdivision in 2 weeks.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See? It'll all work out.
Thanks for coming
You guys have a great night. Thank you.
Have a
See
good
you later,
night.
Alicia.
I'm glad you can make it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the advantage of having an alternate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Mm.
It's weird though, that state law, a ZBA alternate can participate in everything. Under state law, a planning board alternate can participate in everything non-permit, but only special permit votes, which is weird. Like she said, she takes it on an A&R, it makes no sense.
And do you need 4 on a special permit?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
that's why she's here tonight.
All
Oh,
right.
you can give him the Mylar, Josh, James, yeah.
Being 7:55, I jump into growth management.
Sure. A couple different things. One, and they're related to handouts. First, from Graves, dated April 27th. I want to really commend Nexamp Solar out on Griffin Road. Remember the issue about their subcontractor hadn't completed the fence and the landscaping, and Rob Pantano was fantastic. So here is Mike's.
See you later, Jay. Have a good night.
Their sub was fantastic. What is with the yelling out there? If you turn to page 2, there's the photo. They completed adding the 150-foot extension of the wooden fence and the 49 additional arborvitae, which was according to your plan. It's just the company they subbed it out to didn't understand and did part of it and walked away. So the abutters naturally called us, and it was just early winter, so we had to wait until the season came around to do it. But it's all complete now, and I just want to commend again Nexamp and Rob Pantano for being diligent and jumping right on it when we asked them to as soon as the weather cleared up enough to do it. So that's one item. Second one, we talked, and I asked Mike to put together a one-page summary. We talked about shifting to a more efficient way to deal with the billing on peer review. And what this planning board did when you first set it up about 20, 25 years ago, we have the revolving fund, and we're not looking to change that, but what we've done, and very few planning boards at this point do it this way, we pay the monthly bills from whatever peer engineering review, and then we bill for reimbursement from the applicants. We give them a 30-day billing. There's a notice in the billing that if they don't pay on time, there can be a fine for up to 50 days per business day, and it's just gotten worse the past year with a handful of people, and it's reached the point where it's time to do what everyone else does, of get more into an upfront escrow payment and drawdowns. So I asked Michael if he could come up with some preliminary numbers of how it would work, and I'll just pass around and walk you through it. Copy for Jane and for the board members. And like I said, most communities in Massachusetts are doing it this way now, shifting over. There are very few left that don't require any upfront payment and an escrow to draw down the way we've been doing it, and it's just breaking down. So I asked him to come up with some figures, and he came up with very conservative figures. If you look at some other communities, they ask for up to 2 to 3 times, sometimes 4 times more upfront. But to set it up and just get it going, I think this would work. What he's recommending for dollar amounts is subdivision preliminary plan upon application. They'd also provide $1,000 that would go into the escrow, and we draw down from that as we receive billing for preliminary plan peer review. For a definitive subdivision, the upfront payment would be $2,000 base plus $100 per lot if it's bigger than a 10-lot subdivision. So if it's a 1 to 10-lot subdivision, just the $2,000. If it's 11 plus, you'd be doing $100 per lot beyond those first 10, up to 5,000. You're not going to need more than 5,000, even for going through a state-sized subdivision for your initial peer review. For site plan approval, a generic $2,000 unless it's a mega project. For instance, we've done this before, but only when we've had mega projects. When we did the Conover project, we asked them to pay, I believe it was $10,000 up front. It was a mega shopping mall, And they actually replenished it 3 times as we went through it, because that's a project the size of almost the Route 146 Blackstone Valley Mall. So on a handful of large projects, we've done it as an exception, but this would be a policy that you would adopt up front. And then if a project continues through and needs more money, we have them replenish the escrow account before we move forward on future engineering. Like I said, most communities do it. I looked at a few online beyond Central Mass to see in other parts of the state, and communities the size of Charlton, like I said, are asking for 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 more. But I think this works for us in our system. I wouldn't recommend implementing this for anything that's currently active. It would be for brand new things. We'll just keep closing out the system we have now over time. We've talked about this a little before, so we knew we were heading this way. So I've been telling people who have been meeting with me and Mike Andrade pre-application, we're heading for this, and their reaction has been, well, everybody else does it, I figured you'd do it. Particularly the solar companies. They said everywhere else they go for a site plan review, they pay a few thousand for escrow, engineering review right up front, then it gets replenished if it continues beyond just a hearing or two. If there's any funding left over, it's returned as cash to the applicant upon completion of the project.
Now, would you be responsible for keeping track of who has?
Yes.
It has to almost be separate accounts?
Yes. The only change from the way Jane and I do it right now is we spreadsheet and manage it the same way. Nothing would change there. The main difference would be that the town treasurer's office would put each in a separate account.
Okay.
And it would be managed that way separately.
But you also oversee what, there's some.
Oh yeah, we work with them on it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we work side by side, yeah. It's not that complicated because it's the same system we have right now, only the funding is coming in early. We don't change our system, we're just getting the money up front, and the treasurer will keep them in separate interest-bearing accounts.
Okay.
It could actually be easier for Jane to do this because she would have the money there, and then you just withdraw from it instead of sending a bill out
Exactly.
and then hoping it comes back within 30
Yeah.
days or something.
And when it doesn't, we spend a lot of time
Chasing.
and we don't want to shut something down, we get into that conversation, and
So it could actually be easier for your work.
Yeah, I don't have an account number.
Is this something that the whole board has to vote on, or?
well, the board has to vote. It's up to you whether you want to vote this evening or wait for the other 2 members. One way or the other, it's whatever you want. It's no problem.
I'd wait,
Yeah.
just to see if they have any other input.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah.
If we can put this on
May 7th.
next week's
Yeah.
Sure.
agenda.
Okay.
um,
Yep.
Under
that
growth
way-
management again.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
That way we get the other boards.
And again, anybody who's before the board or working with us in the very near future, I wouldn't implement it. I would do it for future things and
Yeah.
beyond the few that are coming in the next meeting or two. You know, pick a point in June or something that from that point on, and we
Effective
tell
as of
everybody
this
well in
date.
advance that we've been working with, and anyone new who comes in at that point won't be applying for a few months minimum beyond that point anyway.
You'd probably do it in conjunction with the town year end is June 30th, right?
Could do it that way too, that as
So
of
as
July
of
1st,
July
you would be
1st.
implementing it and let everybody know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Sure.
That way they know and it falls within the same fiscal year.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
sounds good, thank you. A couple other quick items. Another growth management item is just a reminder, at your next meeting on May 17th, one of the agenda items will be water sewer annual discussion. Water Sewer Commissioner Rob Lemansky will come in, and also at the same time, because it's the perfect timing, 2 of the participants in our trolley crossing project, Rich Kayer and Tom Lisi, would join us to, as part of that conversation, talk about water sewer possibilities and needs and interests for the trolley crossing neighborhood business economic development efforts. So that's on your next agenda. And double checking a few things. And last, I just want to give you one more handout under this agenda item. Dan Denisker is our project manager for the Complete Street Sidewalk effort through the Regional Planning Agency. And I just want to give you the latest update from him on the timing of moving forward on the Tier 2 effort with the state. And we highlighted in yellow. This is his email summary from last Wednesday. Janet Pierce, the director at Central Mass, signed the contract that you had already signed. So now we'll get it back in the next week or so, as he says, and that'll be official that they will put together with Jane and me assisting him the Tier 2 application to the state in the Complete Street Sidewalk Grant Program. So he's looking to work with us on that in May and get it done by the end of the month. What he's referring to in the middle is, it'll have to be the end of May because between now and May 17th, the Regional Planning Agency is going through their biannual federal recertification for MPO, which is taking all of their time. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll be ready to submit in the online portal to the Complete Streets Program, the Tier 2 request for a little under $11,000 in grant funding. And that will allow him to come in to meet with you July or August, wrap it up in September on the mini 5-year sidewalk master plan for the village district. Then we submit that in the fall, and then we're eligible in the winter to apply for the actual grant money for the first 2 sidewalk phases along Main Street. That's the bureaucratic game plan.
Anything else with growth management?
No, just have my list after that of
Sure.
something others.
All right.
Great. I can go through a few routine update items. Just a fast update because, as you know, solar projects keep chugging along. So just to remind you and add a few in. Again, Beresia Solar has been hired by National Grid for the proposed Gunter property one, so that's still being put together. Also, I spoke the other day with Luke Ricard from Am Solar in San Diego that had bought from Seaboard Solar the Turner Road project. And again, he's working and trying to get his engineers, it's everyone's workload basically, to submit here as quickly as possible for their desire to revise the Turner Road project that would shift to a different type of panel that would be able to shrink the layout. And he wants to get it in as soon as possible because probably anywhere from August to September, then they'll start field construction work with a building permit. So he's pushing on that. I had a meeting the other day with an engineer from Rhode Island, the Fuss & O'Neill Engineering Office from Rhode Island, and they have a client that is looking at 2 potential sites in Charlton, and very preliminary. It may end up with only 1 project, but they are looking at 2. So we went over preliminaries, what's required. And then Burton Engineering has a client, a commercial solar array company from down in the Fall River area that is looking at a site in Charlton also. So we still have our I thought we had 4, and now we have 5 in the pipeline. We just keep plugging along. The 3-phase line availability in this town is still pretty solid. In addition, at your next meeting, other agenda items for your next meeting, again, Jason and his client, Ron Gothia, are submitting the definitive subdivision. It's not a public hearing, it's just legally in Massachusetts, a definitive has to be submitted on an agenda. It can't come in during the day. And then also you have the public hearing for Wireless Edge for their proposed cell tower behind the police station. So that's on your agenda as a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight. Just a reminder, Monday, May 15th at 7 p.m. is the annual town meeting. We have our 3 zoning warrant articles, and Jane gave you a copy of the warrant. You have a paper copy there. Also, I mentioned the cell tower behind the police station. Just because cell tower applications are thick, rather than mail it, each of you have an application to take home.
They did do some nice picture work.
Don't they?
Showing
Yeah.
proposed, showing the existing, really, almost like the one they built for Helga.
Yeah.
That company
Yeah.
gave a great
Very
presentation.
Yeah.
good visual.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm impressed. Jane gave me the figures today that as of today, for the fiscal year that started last July 1st to today, May 3rd, our revenue deposits to the general fund from the fees that come into the planning board are a little under $8,400, which is pretty solid and healthy. So, and we have 2 more months to go. So you're taking in quite a few dollars there. I'll defer to Jean, but things seem to be going very well on Metaview at this stage. The RFP is out there.
It's
And
out there.
yeah.
Bids are due on the 19th. I haven't gotten any requests for anything, but it is online, and Lynn has.
Yeah.
I expect that they'll go
Yeah.
to Lynn first.
And we know there's at least one company that's
We
very
have
interested.
one company that's interested.
At a minimum. Fantastic. Just to keep you in the pipeline, I have a meeting next week with Frank Bashiri from Burton Engineering and Colin Novick from the Greater Worcester Land Trust as Frank finalizes his application prep to you for a multi-lot reduced frontage at the corner of behind the corner of Carroll Hill and 20 for the Gunter property on the north side. That would be a couple of reduced frontage lots and conventional. The Mid-State Trail goes through there. So Roy has always been a strong supporter of it and worked with us great on a slight adjustment through the south side. So there'll be a tweak on the north side, and Colin is joining us because he's the Mid-State Trail rep for Central Mass. Once we finalize that, they'll then apply to you in the next month or two, and you'll have a public hearing for that side of it that includes a tweak. Actually, the tweak will make it more interesting for that portion of it. There's a nice like switchback that's kind of fun to hike through as they move it back a little bit. And those are my items for this evening. Thank you. Oh, I do have one more, but again, you might want to wait till the next meeting with the other members. Jane had put together the schedule for the summer, a meeting in July, a meeting in August, but do you want to wait till the next meeting to check everyone's schedule for availability?
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm finally taking a vacation.
You're taking a vacation.
Yeah. Finally. After all my life.
You're actually going away?
It's just a day trip though.
Just
Oh, if I did that, I'd get killed. Yeah. I'm even more nervous about going. All right.
You did the movie.
Can I say one more thing for the
Sure.
record? I'm sorry.
No.
For the record, yes, you probably know, but just in case you didn't, tomorrow is Town Clerk Darlene Tully's last day.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to, thank her for working with us on everything through her wonderful tenure. And I'd just like to say it for the record. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually went, after I met with you this afternoon, I went to see those pens that were made from the floor of the thing.
Oh, yes. How was
Yes. You gotta ask her to show us, yeah.
Really?
Kurt had saved a piece of wood from the floor of her room
Yeah?
Before it got flood, before that.
For the flood.
Yeah.
from the flood, and somebody made him into a pen and pencil set.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
it looks really nice, and
That's
put it
so
in a nice
great.
plastic case.
They
and
did,
everything.
he did a good job.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
She liked that.
yeah.
Okay.
Piece of floor. I said, how many times did you step on that?
Yeah, that's right.
How many times did you cry on that?
Yeah,
Blood, sweat, and tears.
that's right.
Any other questions from the board for tonight?
Other minutes?
Yep,
We went
did.
through the
Yeah,
minutes.
Oh, you did?
once we
Great.
could,
We
yeah.
did
Yep.
the minutes.
Yeah.
Try to keep going.
Good.
I guess that's
We're
it.
good? That's-
Yep, motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.